You know, right now there are two, for the first time ever, there are two premium Disney Plus shows that are running at the same time. They drop at the same time every week, and that's Obi-Wan and Ms. Marvel. And if you'd asked me a year ago, John, which would be the better of the two shows, I easily would have said, well, obviously it's going to be Obi-Wan, but it's not. Ms. Marvel is, I mean, Ms. Marvel has come out of nowhere to surprise me and delight me and just fill my heart with joy. Oh my God, there was a scene last week where they're talking about the older brother's goth days, where wearing spike bracelets, working at Hot Topic. And then the dad sitting there at the table talking about this as well. This is why we came to America, so our children could be whatever they wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And I got weepy-eyed. My grandfather was, my grandfather, Giovanni, who I'm named after, who died last year. I remember 2 years ago with Anne, we were visiting Canada 2.5, 3 years ago, just before the pandemic. And my grandfather telling the story again about how he came from Calabria. He came from Italy. He had to leave his children and his wife behind as he came over to Canada to establish, because there wasn't enough work where they were from, to establish something there, get a job, get a home, then went back, got his family, came over with my grandfather, Giovanni, came over with his family and his brothers, Carlo, Vincenzo, Romolo, and Segarlo. And they all came over with their families, and the whole Italian tribe came over to give a better chance for a better life for his children and his children's children. And I'm sitting there watching this as the dad's telling that story, and I wanted to weep. I mean, it was so beautiful. Anyway, I'm fucking loving this show. I love Ms. Marvel so much. Anyway, you shouldn't be surprised, though, to find out that the numbers have just come out for the ratings on Ms. Marvel, and they are officially, by far, the lowest rated debut for a Marvel show. So basically, the numbers broke down to something like this. WandaVision debuted with something like 1.6 million, I think, something like that. Ms. Marvel came with about half of that, just around, just under 800,000. Now, that actually is not surprising, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you two reasons why it shouldn't be considered surprising. Number one, this is by far the newest Marvel character that they've tried to put on screen so far, right? Like, not all characters are as old as Captain America and stuff like that, but Ms. Marvel is truly a relatively new entry into the comic book pages. Even though Ms. Marvel has some followers, it is by far the lesser known, not to mention, when you look at the commercials for it, it really does look like it almost looks like a Nickelodeon show in a way, like maybe the best Nickelodeon show of all time. But when you look at the trailers and the stylings of it, so it doesn't really look like it has that type of an appeal. But number two, and this is probably the most important, we mentioned that this show airs and it drops at the exact same time as another little property called Star Wars. And that is, of course, Obi-Wan. And, I remember we talked off camera back then. It's like, well, it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to do ratings numbers wise for Ms. Marvel. But clearly that had a big impact as well. Here's what I'm curious about, guys. What I'm curious about is, what is week 2 going to look like? Because what I believe is, pardon me, I believe we're going to see the same pattern that we saw for WandaVision. I think we're going to see a week over week, if it maintains the quality that it has, and we don't know that it will. But if Ms. Marvel is able to maintain that quality, I think we're going to see a week after week, that audience is going to grow and grow and grow and grow. So I'm going to be very curious to see the week 2 numbers, but not terribly surprised to see it's the lowest of the bunch so far. Rob, you saw that. Are you surprised by that? And what do you attribute it to?
No, I mean, look, like you said, the show I think is a delightful show. It's really well done. We've always talked about how Marvel has tried their hands at different genres. This is the teen girl, John Hughes-esque, call it what you want. But that's what I think the appeal. It's a show with a protagonist that has a teenage girl at its center. Marvel fans, if you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, is it going to be the first thing that you tune into? I mean, the same thing would be true of like Clueless. When Clueless came out, I didn't initially run out to the theater to see it, only because I think when it came out, I was in my, late 20s or 30s or something. I'm like, it just, the subject matter wasn't the first thing that appealed to me. And I think this is going to be the show that older audiences are going to come to discover, because it's not at the top of their viewing list. I'll be curious to see 6 months from now, where this is in terms of their viewership, because if the show is great and entertaining, it's going to be one of those things where I'm not telling my friends I'm going to watch this, but I watched it and I loved it. I mean, and that's the thing. I think that we live in a world now where I think a lot of people delineate their entertainment too much. You know, I think a lot of people, like you dipped into this and you were immediately captivated by it. I've heard friends of mine, one in particular, who a Pakistani Muslim, said this show has the best representation he's ever seen of his own Muslim family portrayed in any media ever. And I haven't seen a lot of those takes, but he's somebody you would know. And I'm like, that's fascinating that they've, not only is this a good show, but they've really taken the time to portray a family, kind of like Kim's Convenience, the way you,
right, yeah.
And they've really leaned into that. And I think you can tell, I mean, I don't know how authentic it is. It feels authentic to me. And so I think there's a lot in this show there's a lot to like. And I think a lot of people haven't discovered it yet. And I think they will.
By the way, they have to make a spin-off show of the Illuminantes.
I love the Illuminantes.
The Illuminantes are the best.
The Illuminantes.
What have you been thinking about the show? Because you and I haven't had a chance to talk about like since episode 2. What do you think about the show, and what do you attribute to the fact that it has significantly the lowest rated numbers so far, at least for its debut episode?
I love this show. I love it so much. And I love the kind of comparison here to Clueless. Because of things like the Illuminatis, I think it has the potential to be a big zeitgeist kind of show.
Yep.
This has so much room to have lovely killer lines like, "You're a virgin who can't drive." I'm waiting for these moments. I think part of the problem here is, one, it did get review bombed. And if you do pay attention to that kind of thing, maybe that also turns you off from this. Oh, it's getting really bad reviews. I'm not into this kind of show already. This looks more like To All the Boys I've Ever Loved than an Marvel show. I'm going to pass on this. That could be part of it. The other potential problem here, though, too, is a lot of these Marvel shows have not been sticking the landing.
True.
We've been really, really fizzling out over here, right? We started strong, and now it's been a little more hit and miss. And especially when you hear those limited episodes, it's been really rushed storylines at the end, right? Where it's, and now we're done. So people might just be passing on this. I don't know that character, and Marvel shows haven't been really delivering for me. I'm going to go watch Obi-Wan, which is a damn shame because this is so much better. It's very different. It's very, very different. But for me, this is the show that I'm watching at midnight. I'm watching Obi-Wan in the morning when I'm grumpy.
So you raise a really, really good point, too, because I mentioned, like, hey, it's been great so far, but who knows if it's going to... Because even I, who have been absolutely loving this show, even I have a good, healthy dose of pessimism in me because, like, listen, obviously WandaVision is the exception. WandaVision was amazing from frame 1 to the final frame. That show just, it killed it. It stuck the landing. But none of the Marvel shows have replicated that. You know, some have been pretty good. Some have been pretty good. But none of them have been able to replicate that, whether it's Falcon and Winter Soldier or Loki or, you know, Hawkeye, which I didn't even like all that much. Moon Knight had flashes of brilliance in it and then moments that it really didn't. So even I am a little bit pessimistic to see how it goes. And they have just not been able to bring that level of quality, that consistency in their quality that they have in their MCU film-wise to here. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? Number one, what have you been thinking about Ms. Marvel overall? I think it's the best thing they've put on Disney Plus since WandaVision, but that's only after 2 episodes. Let's see if it's 6th landing. And why do you think, what do you attribute to the fact that it has by far the lowest ratings, at least for a debut episode so far? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. We want to thank the sponsor of today's video, MeUndies. Guys, it is summertime, which means you got a lot of great fun plans, but make sure part of those plans is wearing MeUndies. Because MeUndies wants to make this summer the most comfortable one that you'll never forget, because when you're living your best life in the summer, the last thing you want to worry about is butt sweat and junk swamp. Listen, when you're feeling comfy and feeling good, you're more present to enjoy all your summer plans. It's like science or something. MeUndies has the lightest and most breathable fabrics to keep you cool and comfortable wherever you go. From undies, bralettes and socks, loungewear and swimwear, you can find something for all of your plans. MeUndies also releases new prints all the time, like their limited edition Pride collection. You can match with your partner, friends, or even your dog. Find your ultimate summer comfort in sizes extra small to 4XL. sell. You guys know I have been wearing MeUndies for a couple of months now, and I will never go back to regular underwear. And right now, MeUndies has a great offer for all the viewers and listeners of the John Campea Show. For any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off. For a limited time, if you sign up for their free-to-join MeUndies membership, you get 25% off your first membership item. So to get 15% off your first order or 25% off your first membership item and a 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/Campea. That's MeUndies.com/Campea.